TexAgs Rewind. Andrew Monaco is with us. Hello, my friend.
Howdy.
So this season felt terrible. But going into the offseason, one win, and the way they won against LSU makes me feel so much better. Doesn't erase 5-7, does not erase the bad year, doesn't erase App State. But I just feel better. The traffic lights are turning green. The coffee stays warm. Like, it's just better after a win, especially against LSU.
Food tastes better, especially against LSU, and kind of ruin their postseason hopes, and you get a glimpse of what this team can be. I get the feeling that the last win of 2022 is really the first win of 2023. And I'll say this to you. Yes, it was disappointing. So you know what? There's that scar. There's that reminder.
Yep.
What are you going to do about it? How are you going to get that to heal a little bit faster? All that hard work now in the offseason, that scar is going to be a reminder why you're putting all that time in.
All right, he's Andrew Monaco. He's on the show. He's really good, by the way. If you haven't checked out his work, why are you watching this show? That's weird. Of course you've checked out his work. Jordan Pugh was on the show. Straight Talk with Jordan. We had Jamie McCoy on the show. Charean Williams was on the show. OB on the show. It's TexAgs Rewind.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, before last week's game, I was like, oh, I'm so ready for college football to be over. Let's just get it finished. I'm done. And now I'm like, I want more. That just reminds you of how much fun that college football can be. And it was a lot of fun. It was the most fun game of this season. I guess the Arkansas game a little bit, but that only came after the missed field goal when you felt good. I didn't feel good that entire game. This one, start to finish, I just felt good about the way they played. Just felt like they were the better team, and they were. And yes, injuries played a big part in the season, but if they had played like that all year, we'd be going to a bowl game. I don't know how many wins we'd have, but I know we'd have at least 6.
And do you have any, I mean, I know this isn't a fair question for you, but I'm going to ask anyway. Have any idea why they didn't play like this all year? I know you mentioned there was injuries, but what do you think? Yeah. Why was that the game where you suddenly saw what we expected to see all year?
Yeah, I think the injuries played a big part, but I saw a different offensive team. I saw him do some different things on offense, and I think he called a better game. And Jimbo was really good on the script this year. I've said that several times now, I think, on here. The first, I don't know how many he scripts, 15, 20 plays, whatever it is, but they were always pretty good on that script, and he got off script, and he wasn't very good. Well, this game, he got off script, and he was really good at calling plays, and I just thought it was an outstanding game that he called. I thought the offensive line played way better. They opened some holes, and you know, OB, you called it. I mean, you're the one that predicted that LSU doesn't run as well as some of the other teams that AM's face, so they should be able to have a better chance to get off the field, and they did. And if they have A-Chain, and if they have Stewart, and they did, and I think this shows you if they had had all their weapons, Donovan Green was a big part of that game. But I think the offensive line playing as well as it did and allowing A-Chain to do what he did was really the difference. They just played really, really well, kind of the game, as you said, that we expected to see them play all year.
Best performance last game of the season. That being said, heading into the offseason with that at least makes you feel like, all right, look, I know it felt like a train wreck, but they may be going somewhere.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, beating LSU, who we almost beat Alabama, but they beat Alabama. And like I said, going into that playoff, to know that you just beat a team that could have been in the top 4 that got to play for the national championship, it has to leave that taste in your mouth for these guys saying, hey, some of these games we lost to these teams, but we were in them. We lost close games, but we just knocked off a top 5 team. So it's like, we know we got the pieces. We're young. All of us are coming back if we're able and wanting to. And it's got to be so motivating for those guys to see, hey, we did this. Imagine what we do if we all are on one accord, whether that's as a defense, as a special teams, or as an offense, or even if you just single it down to your unit, our offensive line. They played, I think, one of their best games of the year. It's like, if we can do this against one of these opponents, but we could do it every week, week in and week out, there's nobody that we can't beat. So I'm excited, and I hope that these guys realize who they got pulling for them and what they can do if they decide to stay together and get some more pieces and just build on this thing.
Talking to Jamie McCoy here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk Devon Achane for a minute. In the great pantheon of running backs that A&M has had, I think he has cemented himself in that conversation of some of the elites of the elites.
Absolutely. I mean, there's not enough good things I can say about the guy. He's done everything you can do on this level. I say that to say I'm hoping that he comes back. I think a lesson that not only for him, because I think some of these guys need to go. I think Anthony Johnson has done everything that he can do. I would love to have Damani come back, but he's NFL ready if I had to put my stamp on somebody. But Anais and Achane, I think there's something to be said if they could go back and look at Von Miller and to compare the two, Von Miller and I'd say Travion. Travion was in the same predicament as Devin right now with 3 years. He broke all the records, got the rushing title at A&M. You enter your name into the draft, and you go later than you could have gone had you come back for that senior year and just put your stamp on it like Vaughn did. And he got to play this weekend because Mixon was out, but it's like, don't just go and be lost in the NFL purgatory. There's so many guys that you don't want to just be a number. Go in with some type of moxie and momentum on your name. So Achane, the only thing that NFL-wise would underserve him is just being smaller because – as you know, those are grown men out there, and they hit hard. I'm not sure if his body is ready for the battle of the NFL, but he's done it. I think he could serve himself well if he came back and beefed up just a little bit and did a little more work on his pass blocking, because that's what's going to enable him to be all he wants to be at the NFL level. Everything else, speed and running wise, he's got it all.
Do players actually sense it and feel it? Because that, Edge Cooper Damani play changed the way that second half felt the entire way.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. You know the momentum. You can feel it, you can sense it. Especially when you're on the road, but more effectively when you're at home. When there's those lulls, man, a play is made, all of a sudden the juice is back. The momentum is a very real thing. Players know it. Players understand it, players feel it, but also sometimes players can press when it's on the opposite side, when it's on that opposite sideline. I think that play was the turning point within the game. It got the fans back into it. It breathed more life. It breathed more confidence into the team. And that momentum, man, the one thing that we did and the maturation that we had was we took hold of it. And we kept, for lack of a better term, we kept our foot on their throat, right, when that momentum swing came. So that's one of the maturation processes that you like to see. But as a player, you definitely can feel it.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. So, Jordan, let's talk a little bit about Devon and, how special he is. I think is kind of minimizing it. But really, I thought he was going to be excellent this year, and I thought maybe a Heisman contender. He wasn't a Heisman contender, but he might have been better than I thought he was because of the state of that offensive line this year.
Well, I look at it like this. I think Achane is one of the top 3 backs in the country. The problem is he's just been hidden behind what our record is this year. A lot of let me phrase it like this. Our offense has been Achane. He has made plays out of nothing, right? I think, man, you give him a solid presence. You give him a line that gives him any type of crease. He takes full advantage of it. You saw him in pass protection, how he saved Wegman a lot in the game, too, as well, on backside pressures that LSU had. He can block, he can run, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can do it all. Sometimes guys just get lost in the sauce because you know how everything falls as far as perception, the record, the team, all that. But when you look at what he possesses, he can hit home runs, he can run in between the tackles, he can make pass protection blocks, he can do it all. To me, if he's on let's say we're 10-2, for example, I think he's in the Heisman race because I think the season plays out different. Look at this last game on Saturday. When he had 200 and some odd yards rushing, whatever it was a whole lot of yards. And you saw what he did coming off an injury. He wasn't 100%, and you saw how effective the blocking was this Saturday. So you're looking at that, you getting that snapshot. You're looking at what he's done all year. He rushed over 1,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
On the year, and he missed 2 games, I think.
I apologize. I didn't even talk about Connor Wigman yet.
Oh,
You think I felt he had to come in against South Carolina, and it's like not even like a relief pitcher who gets a chance to warm up, right? You're one play away, as Jimbo says all the time. Awful weather against UMass. It's cold against Auburn and couldn't get back on track against Auburn. But you see against LSU, which was showing him some defenses for sure. And there's experience there. This is where Jimbo always says, game manager is not negative. He managed that game beautifully. But it's nice to be able to hand it off to Devon, let him run, and that offensive line, that was the best they played all year.
Well, let's talk about that offensive line because so disappointing this year overall. But this might be a strength for this team next year.
I agree. Oh, no, I totally agree. And the problem is when you start subtracting players from that line, except for Robinson and Fathery on the right side, and how good was Deuce this year?
Oh, my goodness.
Every time that there was a big defensive player, that jack, that edge, we didn't call that person's name very often. I thought he was terrific. And you know what? In fairness, when you try to get him on each side, Trey Zune did a heck of a job on the other side. But you're removing Foster, so you're putting Wyckoff there. You're removing Aki. You're removing Moko. You never had time as all five to gel. Trey Zune misses a game. Now when you get a chance to gel, that's what we saw from the Maroon Goons. Remember, they took off in the Florida game in the Orange Bowl year. That wasn't the first game of the year. Remember, they struggled against Vanderbilt. You've got to give them time. Now, same thing. Is this the launching point for that group? And will there be some other guys there? But they'll get a chance to be together. And that cohesive unit, I think, means a lot.
How about Moose? Beyond the most spectacular catch we've seen this year, beyond that. But his story could have been written this year after the Sleeves Gate. Right?
Correct.
Whatever side you want to be on that. But it could have been over. It could have been, he could have pouted. He could have gone home. Jimbo could have had, they worked it out, and he provided the best highlight maybe this season.
Yeah, I agree. And that was his second one-handed catch of the game. And it's not even the second of his career here at A&M. His first touchdown as an Aggie is a one-handed catch in the end zone. You know, it's funny that you think about different things. Remember, it was the Ole Miss game. He let a punt drop, right? Hit the ground. Mm-hmm. And that was about a 30-yard difference, 20-yard difference.
Yeah.
A punt never hit the ground again. Those are just the little things that you look for. And you're right. He had to do a big mea culpa after Auburn, right, to earn his graces back. Not with the coaches. You got to do that with your players. And that was the other thing, David, I think I'm really happy about. This team played for each other. When everybody asks, what are you playing for? You play for each other. You play for the seniors. You play. How about Kyle Field? There's nothing like the 12th man.
Nothing like that.
You have a 4-7 season going into that game, and that place is full. And if you've ever wondered, and I don't think anybody who comes here to play ever wonders about that, but it's just magnified how special Kyle Field is, especially on a Saturday night.
I've done this to you before. I'm going to see if you remember.
Like and subscribe.
Can you comment?
Absolutely comment. Nothing positive, and say how handsome Andrew Monaco is.
Do all that. When was the last time you watched a YouTube video?
The last YouTube video?
Yeah.
Yesterday.
The Pulse?
The Pulse.
All right. What else?
Because I watched the Pulse for that segment of just the highlights. It's my
That's
favorite.
Your favorite part?
You know what? Johnny Carson, Doc Severinsen, that's one of the funniest little segments that they did around Thanksgiving.
I loved Johnny Carson growing up. Did. Thank you so much, sir.
Pleasure.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.